He's stuck in his house like a lot of people are with the interest rate, meaning, you know, is his interest rate so good that he would have to significantly downsize if he had sold his home? So I was thinking about this about a month ago, just 'cause, you know, I remember him saying, I think he paid 15 or 16 million dollars for the house. He put 20% down. And so I'm a math guy, so I'm always thinking about numbers in general. And I started thinking, I doubt he had an adjustable rate, but he might have. You know, if he had an adjustable rate, yeah, he'd really be hurting right now. And I'll give you an example why. The way interest rates are when you buy, you know, a property, I think it's over, I don't know, probably over $1 million now at least. You know, it goes into what we call a jumbo rate, a jumbo loan, jumbo rate loan. And jumbo rate loan in general, last time I looked at that sort of thing, it was like a 1.5 or 1% over whatever the normal rate would be. So back in 2020, when Ben bought his place, I think it was 2019, he would have been looking at about a 5% rate. Well, if he got a variable, then he would be up to 7.5%. And so, you know, because, hey, Brett, how you doing? So I listen, and by the way, I don't know if he's trapped in his house or not, but I'm speculating. He was actually talking the other day. I picked up a little bit of, he was on his Ask Ben stuff, and I think he said he was selling his house. And then I saw on X, it said this would be a nice house for Tom Brady. So sounds like he might be selling his house. He said he was selling his yacht, I believe, too, in this Q&A that he had yesterday. And I like Ben. I have great respect for Ben. I think he screwed up terribly on, you know, and I think in part it's because he didn't, you know, he's been doing real estate a long time, not as long as I have, but if he had been doing it as long as I have, he would sorely remember interest rates at 12%, you know, 12, 10, you know, everything I bought through 1980 to 1990 was 10% interest, with the exception of one house I bought for 9.125%. It was because I made a big deposit and the bank gave me a favorable rate at that time. But so I thought it'd be fun just to talk about and think about, and I like, again, this is just speculative, but he says he's selling. But, you know, Ben talks about his house being worth $30 million. I doubt it's worth $30 million today. You know, it's probably somewhere around 20, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's just not my market. But let's talk about numbers. So let's see. Let's go to, where's Ben's house here? Let me check here. So look, we're going to go to Ben's house. Beautiful home, right? And by the way, webinar tonight. You can get in my webinar. It's free. It's in an hour and a half. 90 minutes. Get in my webinar. You've never seen so many millionaires in a small community mentorship as I have. Compare me to anybody and everybody out there. Nobody has a school like mine. I call it a school because it is a school. It is a mentorship. You have direct access to the teacher, and you can always tell a good school by its students. I've got the most successful students of anybody out there on the intertube, on the internet, on the interweb, and bar none. I got many millionaires, multimillionaires, many 100,000aires, people that made $1 million in less than 2 years, and have made multiple millions in 3 years in my class, my mentorship. So urge you to hit that subscribe button right now because you don't want this to get away. But look, I'm going to go to the numbers here. Let me grab my iPad. Still getting used to these numbers here. All right, so look, here is this. Let me move this down a little bit. So I already jotted some numbers down here. So anybody want to call in, call in. That's the live number right there. You just go in the queue and we'll talk about it. But, you know, people think about, you know, I got all kinds of people that have, you know, 2.75% interest rates, 3.5% interest rates, that sort of thing. And if you've noticed, you know, and Ben, and this is a compliment to Ben, but this is one of the reasons I love entrepreneurs that rent from me, right? I primarily own commercial, industrial, office buildings, and everybody that rents from me is pretty much self-employed with few exceptions. But to Ben's credit, ever since the interest rates jump, and he was very honest. He said, "Yeah, I screwed up. I should have refied." And he's paying the price. It's hurting. And if you look at like his house, let's go back to his beautiful house, right? Here's this beautiful house. Well, if he owes $12 million, and I believe he put roughly 20% down on it when he bought it, and I think he paid $16 million, so he owes roughly say $12 million on it. So $12 million on a 30-year rate with a jumbo loan at say 5% interest rate, which is a ballpark, pretty accurate ballpark, I'd say. That would put him at balance of $12 million, 5%, 30-year. He's looking at $64,000 a month, mortgage, not counting taxes and insurance, right? So add a few grand at least. So just say you could even be 70, but just for just say the mortgage itself right now, assuming he pays this stuff. Hey, Russ, I'm playing around with. I heard Ben was selling his house and his yacht, and just kind of talking about believe me, no matter how much money you've got, if you're leveraged and if you haven't refied your loans, and Ben didn't, you're feeling the pinch if you have, if you owe money. It's just kind of how it is. He sold a Lowe's, I believe, not long ago. He sold it for less than he paid for it. And then his basis was so low, he had to pay, I think, another $3 million in capital gains from whatever he bought before that, whatever the spread was on that. But so just think about this. So if Ben had a variable rate, he would be at about 7.5%. Which would give him a mortgage of $84,000, and when your wealth is shrinking, your income is shrinking, and that's where he's really hurting, and also I can relate to this is when you're Ben's actually a little younger than me. Well, at some point you start to consider death and what do I want to leave my family and what assets, you kind of want to leave the easy assets. And I could kind of read between the lines when I've heard Ben speak, and I don't watch him all the time, but just what little I have spoke. He doesn't want to leave, he wants to leave easy assets to manage, easy assets to own. He doesn't want to put his family in a position where they got to sell off half of what they got to pay the taxes on the money that he made. Or he knows the peculiars of his properties, and he kind of knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. And I went through this like 10 years ago, and so I thought, what, I could have a heart attack, I could this. And so I had a certain criteria for the assets that I was going to get rid of. And so I sold off land. I had land that was worth millions of dollars, and I just sitting there, and I paid, I actually rented some of that land too. But in the end, it was a very non-productive asset. I had $3 million sitting there that wasn't bringing any income, so to speak, not much anyways. And so, so I turned that asset and I took that $3 million and I bought a couple of buildings that, are now worth $7 million, and they're paid for, right? They're completely paid for. And so those are the kind of assets, the legacy kind of properties that you want to leave for your kids. It's the stuff that is easy. In other words, no mortgage. Hard to screw that up. You can have a 50% vacancy and they still make money. What you don't want to leave is a high leveraged asset, and then especially one that you've already got a mortgage went way up on it. So I see what I sense is, and Ben, please comment if I'm wrong or right. Anyways, like I say, I don't pretend to know, but I see you preparing for death. And like I say, this is something I did about 10 years ago. I wanted to have most things mostly paid for or completely paid for. I wanted to have assets that, like I said, would be easy on the family to take care of, and don't want them to, none of them have my experience, don't want them to have to make decisions. I know we've got Ben Jr., who's, turned into a fine entrepreneur and real estate man. But so, but where I was going with this earlier is Ben, just like the tenants in my building, he's a businessman, right? I've been a businessman my whole life. And what happens when things get tough, the sad thing, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, Ben has done that. In fact, if you watch this video, like, he's got people paying him, and he started very much so when the interest rates went up and he got caught. In other words, his interest rates were going up, and he screwed up because you can't afford to keep everything that you have because that delta is shrinking so drastically. So I saw him, he put all of his assets or a bunch of his assets, depending on what you believe. He was on a program, I think coffee hour or whatever it is, coffee show, and it said he was selling off his assets. And now he's selling his yacht. But that's what happens, and this is what's so great about having tenants. I have tenants, and I'll just go to Google Earth here just for a second. So, like, my properties, I have, and by the way, I'm going to show you how I made my first million if you get on the webinar tonight. So somebody call in if you like. Russ, you can call in too if you like anybody. Russ is actually one of my multimillionaires who's been mentored by me in the last 3 years and doing fantastic, doing really, really phenomenal for such a young guy. 4 kids, and he's a multimillionaire. He's got a lot of security. But what I was going to say is, these properties that, actually, those are the ones I owned in my 20s. Let's get over to the ones that I've owned since. Where's Texas? Oh, yeah, here we go. What I was going to say is, I have industrial, commercial. I've had just about everything you can imagine. But the assets that I have that are, like, oh gosh, let's see, like this. This is a big office building that I own. That's pretty good size. Actually built that in 2000. I own a building even bigger. On both of these buildings across the street. What I was going to say is when you have a tenant that's an entrepreneur and self-employed, they change gears. When things get tough, that product's not selling. They find another product to sell. They change gears, and that's kind of what I saw Ben do. Is I saw Ben change gears. He suddenly went from when the interest rates went up, and he dumped his extra cars and crap that he didn't need. He started getting rid of the properties that he didn't need. But he started going to work. He started monetizing his channel. He started taking sponsorships, in other words, he's getting to work. He's like, he can feel it, right? I mean, it's like, shit, I got to make some money. And so he's consulting. He's consulting. He's taking sponsors on his very popular podcast, and he's making money. And that is what's so great about having commercial, office, industrial type tenancy. They're self-employed, they're entrepreneurs, they're never going to go back to work for anybody else. They're going to figure out a way to make it. And that is a wonderful, resilient tenant for me. That's the kind I like, and believe me, I've had apartment buildings. I buy houses and sell houses. I flip houses all the time. And I buy those. I make my money the day I purchase them and I flip them. The long-term assets, the legacy assets that will go to the kids, those are the things that I keep and that I want to hold on to. And that's what my students are doing. Actually, actually this is perfect. I think this is Russ. So Russ, I'm letting you in here. Hey, Russ, you there?
Hey, Tommy. How are you?
Good, yeah. So I'm on this topic. I saw Ben talking about selling off his house, and we own lots of guns. Brad just asked. Yeah, of course we have lots of guns. We're talking about. I was talking about the jumbo rates. I think, and I know you watch Ben some too. Ben was talking about selling off his house, and I started thinking about how since times have got tough, and we all know he kind of blew it with the interest. He didn't refi his properties, didn't get them put in fixed rates. He took the gamble and lost on variable rates. And so it's hurt him. He's had to sell assets. He's had to sell stuff for less than he paid for it. And then he's had to take a hit on the capital gains if he didn't, roll those assets into something else. And that's what I gathered from it. And so I was playing with the math on that, and I'll bring my iPad back up here. And $12 million in a jumbo rate loan, which actually, Russ here, by the way, folks, he got in my mentorship to learn more about commercial real estate, and he's been on fire ever since. He owns a bunch of it now, made millions of dollars with it. And but even before that, he was no slouch. He was like me, young and a very aggressive real estate guy in residential. And so what's a jumbo rate run these days? Because I know you would know.
It's usually a bit higher.
Like it's about 1.5 point. Yeah, it's like 1% higher. That was the rule a long time ago.
Yeah.
A jumbo rate would be 1% higher than a regular rate. And so based on that, I figured Ben at 5% rate. I can go into the calculators that are inside. This is inside Flip Anything. If you guys ever get in the mentorship, you'd see we have a series of calculators. But 12 million, 5% interest rate. That would give him a $64,418 a month payment over a 30-year, and I'm sure that's probably pretty much exactly what he got. Ben likes to leverage. But today, the same interest rate at 7.5, let's see if this works, is like $84,000 a month now. And I guess I could share this with everybody.
You think it's not that much? It's only a $20,000 difference, right?
Yeah, well, it's
easily cover a $20,000.
Yeah, it's 2.5% more. I don't know what I did here. Let me get out of here. Get back to Ben. Okay, so with Ben here though, if he owed $12 million, he would have had a $64,000 a month mortgage if he got it at 5% interest. If if he had a variable, then he would be up to 7.5 today. But let's think about that, right? This is what traps people in their mortgage, right? Is they go, well, God, if I sell this, and if they owe money, you're not trapped. If you paid cash for the property, you're really not trapped because you got cash to go move anywhere you want, and you can pay cash for wherever you go. But I know he didn't pay cash for his building, or I shouldn't say 100% no, but I believe that's what he said a long time ago. And somebody else listening might actually know that. But if he did put 20% down, I believe that's what he did. He would have an $84,000 payment a month compared to $64,000. Now, on the other side of that is, let's take a look at what you can get, right? And this, you got to understand, Ben lives in, Bel Air Shores in Florida, which is a beautiful area. I've looked at property there myself. And you can see what 5 million, here's what 5.8 million gets you right here. And still not a bad home, but, that house that he's got is kind of his signature. It's kind of a beautiful home that, so this really doesn't really compare to what he's got. Again, that's part of his draw and his appeal. It's basically his set, so to speak, as you'd say in the movie business. That's his stage. So I'm not sure where he'd go, but it wouldn't matter. I mean, the guy's got a great personality, so it really wouldn't matter. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think he'll sell his home for more than what he paid for it. I think he bought it before COVID, and I think it was like a short sale or for pre-foreclosure, one of those things. So I think he'll still make some money. But my question is, if the payment only went from 64 to 84, being that size, you think someone can easily afford the extra $20,000 a month?
Well, no, I would.
It should be down with it.
Well, I know, but think about it. No, I don't. See, I don't think so. I don't think so, because you can see him squirm, and I mean this respectfully, because I've been in those shoes before. But we all, in the class, I've told everybody the last 3 or 4 years, if you got it, you get rid of it or refi it if you want to keep it, and if you didn't have it in a fixed rate. But so just consider this: the 20,000 more. I'll bring this back up. Assuming this is accurate, in this scenario, the $20,000 more a month it cost him to sit there, assuming he had an adjustable rate mortgage, he would be at 84. So that's 20,000 more a month. You're thinking, well, that's no big deal. But remember, Russ, he's got, maybe $200 million in real estate mortgages that have gone up equally, have gone up about 2.5%, right? That's 500,000, and that actually is consistent. I would say that's probably about what he owes on his other real estate, because if you remember, he said that he went. I think he said his mortgage, his interest went up $500,000 a month or something like that. So that's basically $6 million a year.
$6 million a year.
That's 5%. That's that's 6%, I guess, 6 or 7% on roughly $200 million. So you follow me? In other words, the 20,000 wouldn't be anything. If he had a fixed rate, it would be nothing. But he doesn't have a fixed rate on those mortgages, as we all know. So it's like.
And you know that saying they say, when it rains, it pours. Well, then he had the hurricanes that hit, a couple of his buildings. The hotels were not operating. There's a couple of videos he made where they got flooded, so they were remodeling them. And the economy is kind of slowing down, so less people coming in. So, like the saying, when it rains, it pours. It's kind of true, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they had that condo collapse. They had that condo collapse in Florida. And that's just crushing a lot of the people. And he doesn't necessarily have condos, but I believe he has a hotel or two that's on the sand. I think he's got 800 employees too, right? But the problem with the condos is because of that one collapsing suddenly, the degree of safety and rebuilding and fortifying the existing condos are out there. It's kind of been shoved down their throat by the state. And so, and insurance companies. So now, all these condo associations are having to borrow money, make these improvements, and raise everybody's condo fees very significantly, which of course damages them, and then they, makes their property worth less because the condo fees are higher. It's got to come from somewhere. So anyways, it's just an interesting thing to think about. And like I say, I don't have any firsthand knowledge on Ben. I'm just going by.
How much
he's
time
pretty open.
Do you think? I mean, Ben is not probably the only one who's kind of in a pickle like this. How much time do you think it'll take before we see major, problems forming where properties are going to go into foreclosure and things like now, a year, 2 years, 3 years?
It depends on the property. I mean, most of the people that borrow money for industrial, office, and commercial, and and I'm one of those guys, and you too now. A lot of those rates, they like to market the rates every 5 years. So if you got a loan 5 years ago, and then you're coming up, for a change, unless you locked in where they could only go up 1%, which I did that with some of my loans where I can't get hurt like that, but. I'm actually in a position where I have actually many of my mortgages are actually coming to a close. I'm actually like within 3 months to 17 months on several big buildings that will be completely paid off. So I'm actually sitting extremely well in that regard. Even if the rate went up a little bit, it wouldn't even matter because the whole thing's going to disappear here pretty soon. But so how many? I don't know, but a lot. Even I remember Grant Cardone would talk about. I can borrow 85% on a property, and as long as I don't have more than a 15% vacancy, that thing is okay. Well, he could easily have more than a 15% vacancy in tough times, and we already know we have people in the class that have invested in REITs, and I'm thinking of Delia at the moment, that it's like sayonara. That money's gone and it ain't coming back. But I don't know. Do you have anybody? Are you witnessing any fire sales in your own area right now?
Well, I'm seeing what the stock market is doing over the last couple of days, and there's this theory that I came across that it's being done intentionally to get the Fed to lower the interest rates, where the stock market is going down, and the Feds will see that and they'll lower the interest rates. What do you think of that theory? That the whole tariff thing is being done on purpose to force the Fed to lower the rates.
You know what? You know, it's like I theorized in the class. What I think is the combination of things. A, people have to go to work and make money. L, now we got the best president ever for doing that. We have somebody that's pro-business, pro-growth, uh, anti-government. So you got a guy shrinking the government. He's cutting the overhead, and he is bringing businesses to the country, which means more jobs, which means more people make more money. And, you know, you've heard me say that before. The people
Right.
need to make more. That's the way you get out of it, is people have to start making more. It takes time, though. So you got maybe the interest rate dropping at the same time, wages come up, and then when it hits that sweet spot again, then we can lower the interest rates. And, you know, I don't know if you guys noticed, but, the price of eggs have gone down, which that doesn't represent much other than they corrected the bird problem they had. But actually, my girlfriend, who pays a lot more attention to grocery prices than I do, she said she sees grocery prices and things are dropping. And so if she sees it, then everybody sees it, because, you know, she's somebody that like most folks out there, that, you know, got to watch the budget and that sort of thing. So, you know, like I say, I thought things were going to crash last time Trump was in. And to my surprise, he took a lot of great actions then. And it was a soft landing. It wasn't really a crash that I anticipated us having from all the, you know, quantitative easing that was going on. And here's another thing to think about. You know, we all know that the stimulus, you know, the giving away checks to, you know, just about anybody and everybody that had a pulse, you know, caused inflation in a huge part. People got money for nothing, spent it like most people, when they get money for nothing, they waste it, spend it very, you know, foolishly, and it goes into the circulation, and other people get that money. But, you know, when the smoke clears, now everything costs more. And all these people, if you look at this USAID stuff and all this, you know, big giant slush fund, you know, pretty really raunchy, dirty thing going on where they're just, you know, just flushing our tax dollars down the toilet to people that end up handing it back to many of the politicians. Well, that was stimulus. That was stimulus. That was taxpayer money given to people that didn't deserve it. You know, and even though they say they're sending it to all these different countries, believe me, the money's coming back in some forms. And so, again, I don't know that would be as direct a cause of inflation as say, the stimulus money going into the pockets of people that are foolish, but it is some. In other words, if you look in Washington, D.C., where all the lobbyists live, and a lot of these people that had jobs connected to some of the, you know, some of this sleazy stuff, you know, all these homes there's a huge amount of homes for sale in Washington, D.C. And so obviously that is going to crash. That place is crashing for sure, the mortgages. And
Right, there's a bunch of price cuts going on over there.
yeah. You know, it's like I always say, the only thing I know for sure is I don't know for sure. And it's because of, you know, the different things that can happen. People like to say, oh, look at the data, look at the historical data. You know, Mike Zuber, who I like, is one of those guys, but I disagree with him on most of that stuff. Because what you can't control is bad government and horrible decision making and people that pick the winners and bail out banks that shouldn't be bailed and not letting people fail that should fail. You know, it's wonderful when the government doesn't bail out people that weren't insured. Let them fail, and everybody else will pick up the pieces, and they'll build their wealth. And you know, but you know, so that's what you can't anticipate. You know, it's like Reagan said. You know, nothing worse than, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "There's nothing scarier than somebody from the government coming to your door saying they're here to help." You know, but. Anyways, hey, tonight in the webinar, those watching, I got a free webinar, 7 p.m. tonight. That's in about an hour, I think. Yeah, about 1 hour. You could be speaking live. Just go to flipanythingusa.com/webinar, fill out that little form, and before 7 p.m., you'll get sent a link to get in there. I don't know, what else is going on with you, Russ? Did you, have you?
Well, I was speaking of Trump and Elon Musk. They're cutting actually 12 federal leases here where I am. I guess Doge went through and they found them to be inefficient. So that's going to be like, I think, millions of dollars that are going to be cut out for the local economy. Yeah, so the locals are not too happy about those leases being terminated. But 12 properties. So it's in the millions. with all those 12 properties. Some large buildings that were used for the federal government.
Mm.
So they're being cut out here pretty soon. I guess the Deutsche team went through and they found out they can get, more services for their money elsewhere.
Well, yeah, probably
But
just sub it out to private. Well, and if they did truly have services that were needed, they can be just subbed out to the private sector, and that'll offset those jobs. But I'm interested. Trump's not opposed to selling off real estate. It's like he said, look, we've got all these buildings all over the country that people are not coming to work in anyways, and many of these people we don't need, as we know. Why not just sell the buildings? Why not just sell the assets? And I love that. I've bought schools directly from, whatever the schools from the local government.
Yeah.
And and it's been a wonderful thing, and so that is a real thing, and so there may be some great opportunities for you guys like you and me and those watching to go buy stuff that. Because there's nothing like having money when things are crumbling. It really is a wonderful thing, and I'm not saying it's great for people that are suffering. Believe me, I don't like that for anyone. But the fact is, I've been in those positions where I'm just making money. I'm doing well. I did a good job with designing that part of my life, and then when things are crumbling around me, I'm just waiting. I've seen things that were. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a saying, it's a recession when your neighbor is going through a hard time, and it's a depression when you're going through a hard time. So,
right, yeah,
yeah,
No, it's.
But yeah, regarding those buildings, that's actually exactly what I was thinking about. They're going to be eventually some of those buildings that they own straight up. They're going to be listing them in the market. That'll be opportunity, to buy them up. One thing I did have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one building. I met up with a tenant. They actually manufacture solar panels, and they need 3-phase power. So they're saying they'll lease the building from me if I bring the 3-phase from the street to the building, and then from the building all the way through the building to all the machinery. They're going to pull it themselves. Do I typically, does the owner bring it in from the street to the building, upgrade the base panel or the meter panel? It's going to be like at least $12,000.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Not all utility companies are created equal. If you got like a co-op electric company, they're usually the easiest to deal with, and they can very quickly set you up. They can upgrade your service, and but if you get into a bigger, city, then it's just more bureaucratic and more bullshit, and then they can make it take 6 months or a year. They want to see an engineering report. They want to see all this other stuff. Where a smaller municipality, they're just like, sure, no problem. Yeah, or they already know in their head the grid that's around there, and they can bring it. But the big money for you going to be is, number one, do you have 3-phase on the street? Did you identify that you have?
I do. Okay. There's a pole with 3 transformers on them.
Oh, okay. So here's another thing that I've used in the buildings. I mean, as both an entrepreneur, because I've owned a machine shop before too. But what I was going to say is there's a thing called a phase-o-matic. Let's see, it's phase-o-matic. And you might consider this and I'm putting this up on the screen right now, and really for everybody, this is gold if you don't know about this. Basically, a phase-o-matic, it allows you to create, if with 3-phase electricity, you've got 2 high legs, right? I think you got 220, 220, and 110. And what you can do, in other words, because you got direct 220 coming off of one can, and then you got 110. But what happens with a phase-o-matic is it'll fool the machine so that it feels like it's getting full 3-phase. It kind of creates the third leg of 220. So you can actually have machines operate that are 3-phase, where you don't have three-phase,
On
because
single phase power.
on single-phase power, yeah, and it, because I used to buy three-phase machines, but I didn't have three-phase power. And actually, the guy that invented this damn thing, he didn't live very far. He lived in Palmdale, California, and but he created the phase converter, and so it would allow me to run table saws. Now the table saws didn't run at exactly full power, but you got a 7.5 horsepower saw that's running at 5.5 horsepower. The bottom line is you could use it, you could work it, and that may be a solution also, depending on how many amps of electricity do you have in your building right now?
400 amps. That's what they need.
And you have 400 amps?
I have 400 amps currently. Yep. The problem is it's single phase. In order to go to a three phase, we need to yank out all of the equipment that was put in like 2 years ago for a single phase, put in the three phase, plus upgrade all the panels inside for a three phase. That's the electrician said roughly 12,000, maybe 15,000, just to do that. And all the equipment's brand new. It's like a year and a half, 2 years old probably by now.
Is it?
But if we could put a phase-o-matic.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on how heavy. It only needs 400 amps. Phase-o-matic might just work. You may just bring it to his attention, and maybe it's something that they
I
can
will. Maybe
work.
he didn't even know about it, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
We can avoid. He said the last building, so he had a building that burned down, so they're looking for a new place. Started by a space heater, apparently.
Yeah.
They burned the other building down, but
I've had that
400
happen.
amps. Oh, you had that happen?
Well, I didn't own the building. It's where I worked. My boss had it. His place burned down. It burned down off a hot plate. It got caught on fire once with a coffee pot, and then it burned down off of a space heater. Exactly. In fact, I think it might have been they call it like a dust explosion. A thing kicked on, and there was sawdust in the air because, believe me, I worked in a cabinet shop. And we didn't have a dust collection system. We just ate sawdust. But yeah. So those of you who don't know about this a phase-o-matic is a wonderful save, and it'll, like I say, can be the difference of being able to utilize property and power that otherwise doesn't have three-phase. And I'll remind everybody.
You could actually save hundreds of thousands in pulling wire through the building. You just use whatever we have versus pulling three-phase wire.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what usually kills it is that the time that it takes to get, the electrician can do it like that, but it's the city bureaucracy that slows it down.
Yeah.
And if you happen to have one of those cities where they'll fast track stuff for you, but if you just pay it, it's worth it. Just pay it and make it fast track, then you can do that.
Well, then I think they said they'll lease it while I do all the upgrades. So as soon as I find out all the numbers, we'll sign that lease as long as it's done. But maybe if we could do the phase-o-matic thing, that'll avoid all of those costs and we'll make it work just fine.
Yeah. I would like see just put in phase-o-matic, and you'd see the machines behind me, and it, like I say, it allows you to use the three-phase machine without the three-phase environment. And I'm going to remind everybody again that it's watching. Listen, hit that subscribe button if you want to learn about real estate, making a fortune in real estate. I can show you how. I've done it myself, and my students are doing it, just like the one that's on here right now. Making a couple $1 million in a year is not unheard of. And it can even happen with a single deal, and it has happened for a few of my students, or $1 million, and it's even happened for me. And so, get in the webinar. If you're 30, 40 years old and you're not a millionaire, take time, skip the bar, go to the webinar. You can see me live, and just go to flipanythingusa.com/webinar, and we will send you a link. And it's very real. It's very, very real. And I'm going to take just a second here just to point people here. You can apply for mentorship right here behind my banner. Let me get the banner out of the way. You can get the banner ready. Just go to here, click on webinar, and all you got to do is fill this little form out right there. This late in the game, put your phone number in right there, because we'll text you the link if nothing else. Let's see, somebody wrote here, Ben has mentioned that he keeps enough cash to pay off all his debts at any given time. Yeah, Brandon, I don't know what that means to him when he says that, but I mean, most of us can say that in as much as we can sell off what we have, but it can sure be painful. Like, like I said, he sold a Lowe's and he took a $5 million hit. He took, I think, a $2 or $3 million hit on the sales, selling it for less than he paid for it. And then he took another $3 million hit because he didn't roll the cash into something else. That's how I understand it anyways. And like I say, what's great about Ben is he's an open book. He'll tell you he blew it. And, I remember I told Rafal, Ben should have, I let Ben in my class. He was generous enough to come in and talk to students. Really good guy. But he would have heard firsthand from me.
Hey, Tom, maybe we can get him to talk again in class and tell us exactly what's going on.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I think he thinks my channel has cooties. he thinks my channel has cancer because YouTube has tortured me for talking politically.
Oh, boy.
But, Mal H. wrote, hey, you've gotten in incredible physical shape. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've been working out actually for a good, strong year now here with my son. And it's, I tell you, it's wonderful if you take time to build your body and get in shape. And it's really kind of fascinating because you can kind of be a spectator of your own body. In fact, I just got a scale today, by the way. For $99, I got a scale that you can stand on, and it'll tell your fat content. And I just found out about it. I've been paying $50 to have a DEXA scan. You get a DEXA scan, the thing passes over your body, tells you how much fat is in your legs, in your arms, in your chest, and this. And but if you kind of do the math and just do a little research, you realize, and just kind of be more utilitarian, like just make sure you put in enough protein that you won't lose muscle. You can lose weight, but you'll support the muscle, and then you can, of course, you can measure your biceps in different parts of your body to make sure that you're not losing muscle. But yeah, thanks, Mel. I appreciate that. And it really, I think 2025 is going to be my year to make a bunch more money. Because I've always made money in downturns. It's never failed. And but also I plan on getting in a lot better shape because I'm getting old. I'm in my 60s now. And so it's important for me to stay on top of that. And I certainly have time. And, stress will kill you. So you really got to be careful with the stress. And I was talking earlier, and you'll hit this someday too, Russ, is, you start to think about when you own a lot of stuff, and then as you get older, you're thinking, yeah, you know what, and you can afford it. You got negatives going out, you're buying land and stuff, and you got the cash flow to take care of it. But then you got to think, well, what if I had a heart attack and died? Would the wife be lost? Who would people around me that are around them take advantage of them? Would my kids sell my stuff too cheap? I'm not worried about that. But you and I both know, that kids do sell their inherited wealth too cheap. And we've been on the good end of that, fortunately. Somebody's asked me, are you taking any growth hormones or steroids? No, sir, I'm not. But I am eating a lot of beef. I eat a lot of ground beef and a lot of eggs. And I'll tell you, that's the magic right there. Just eat ground beef and eggs. The body just thrives on that stuff. What you can't do is eat a bunch of potatoes. You can't drink milk. You can have a little bit of yogurt, but you can't. You got to stay away from the carbs. But what's cool is once you get a week or two of just eating beef and eggs, you won't need it. You won't, because you crave for sugar. The first 2 weeks that you're eating kind of a high protein diet, it drives you nuts. It's very tough to get past. But and there's things you can take, tirzepatide and Ozempic. I tried taking some Ozempic, and stuff just makes your mouth water, and when you get sick, I did enjoy using the tirzepatide a little bit. It kind of gives you a little more willpower. Highly recommend you look at that stuff. And, anyways. Yeah, I like, life can be so good. I tell my kids, I've told them their whole life, a good life is by design. And, I try to share the mistakes that I've made, and guys like Russ actually particularly have avoided some big pitfalls that I didn't avoid, but I had to handle, and I went through them. And and so Russ, I tell you, right, Russ, it's kind of nice not having to reinvent the wheel. So.
No, I mean, sometimes it's terrible, all the stress and everything, and it's costly to reinvent the wheel.
It sucks, man.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's seriously just
but I mean, I'm glad you're here to push us through it. So Yeah, I was just over at that Tumwater redevelopment I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the concrete in, so the doors are supposedly custom. They're supposed to let them out this week. So I got siding coming in. I'll send you a few pictures here once I'm off the phone. Got the plumbing done. Electrical is going in next week. So
Awesome.
I'm hoping to wrap everything up here in the next two months. And then I have a guy, he wants to put in a school for one building, and he's willing to pay $10,000 a month. And then another building, I have a Mexican restaurant. I want to take like 2/3 of the building.
Yeah.
Maybe a third, with 2/3 are still deciding. But I told them like $3,500 for that 1/3. They're willing to pay that.
No, that's a
It's kinda
beautiful
cool, like,
deal.
You take some garbage building and then you convert it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call that a garbage building, but you just jumped in. You saw. I mean, this is the thing. You know, you can't wait. You got to. You can't wait. I mean, if you know value, you know to take advantage of something immediately, and that's what you did. You saw it, you did it, and you got it. And to your credit, I mean, you made an amazing deal there, and you're gonna enjoy that for decades. Your kids will enjoy it too after you're gone. So,
That's the plan.
yeah. Okay, yeah, Brad, eat fettuccine Alfredo. I'd say don't eat anything white. Just about everything white is bad for you. Just the truth, except maybe yogurt. We're talking about diet here. They're mixing.
How long have you been dieting? You said a year?
Yeah,
roughly?
Yeah. I'm down 36 pounds right now, or 38 pounds maybe.
Oh, wow.
I expect to get down about 40. I mean, I was 221, and right now I'm 184. And I had no idea I could lose that. I thought I was in decent shape, but I realized, holy crap, I got a bunch of visceral fat inside me.
I tried that intermittent fasting where you eat for only 4 or 5 hours a day and then you fast the whole time. It works, but then you touch any of the carbs to get everything back.
Yeah. No, you can't touch carbs.
It's like a discipline thing.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. Yeah, and no, I'm telling you. So I just got fitted for suits, right? I bought 3 suits the other day. My daughter's getting married here, so I need to get a suit that fit. And to my surprise, I still got same size chest, and my shoulders don't go away. But they were talking about, oh well, no, you're not going to fit a standard. You need a slim. And then they go, slim's not small. We got to get you a skinny, and this is just for the waist. So I'm going, really? I'm a skinny? I go, is there anything small? They go, no, that's as small as it gets in the waist. So I'm really enjoying the shit out of it. And I'm getting really close to having some abs. So I'll be sure and share that if I ever get there. Somebody didn't like my my shirtless photo the other day. Of course, I told him to, GFY. But anyways, yeah, everybody. Listen, man. It's. I'll tell you, if you can get in the webinar tonight, because I tell you, we got a family. We have the best community out there. And Russ, I tell you, we got guys like him scattered across the country. Give or take 10, 15 years, one way or another. Everybody's on the same side. Everybody has the same goals to make money. When you see somebody else make $1 million or $500,000, you're happy for them. But of course, you want it to be you, and eventually it will be you. Eventually, it will be you. Tyson also is in the class. He said, yeah, the carnivore diet is good. The easy part is you can eat. Yeah, you can eat. What's that thing? Safely? Yeah, safely or safely? Which makes losing weight easy. Yeah, it's just kind of, it seems anti-intuitive. There's a lot of things that are anti-intuitive in jiu-jitsu, as far as compromising the body and manipulating people's arms and legs. But eating, a steak and a hamburger and eating eggs just does seem counterintuitive to getting in shape. And it may raise the cholesterol too much. I don't know. So I'm going to be checking that. That'll be watching my cholesterol, because that's the other thing. You fill that Widowmaker up with plaque, you'll also keel over. So that's just how it goes. But yeah, so have you decided where you're going to roll that money from the home, the boring home?
Yeah, I'm looking at that one office building. Remember the one I sent you? So remember a couple of classes ago you were talking about there's certain times where you're trying to buy a building, it's not ready, and then there's a window of opportunity. So I'm waiting for kind of the stars to align, sort of speak, to sell that, and then that other building that I want to buy for a fraction of it, it's like $60 a square foot, but I want to get it for like $40 a square foot. You can't build that.
No, I know.
Yeah.
So listen, and this is a good conversation because you keep your standards high for making a profit. I bought properties for 20 cents on the dollar. Doesn't happen all the time. Once in a while, it happens. Russ got a building, got it for 35 cents on the dollar, maybe less. This can happen. And what you have to keep in mind is if you keep your standards low, you're going to hit your standards just like that, and your money's going to be gone. It'll be, maybe you'll still make some money, but and I was talking to Manny Koshman, nice guy, good guy, also real deal, and also has mentorship of some sort. I don't know if he's teaching anymore or not, but good guy, smart guy, a real investor, and man, he's got a high standard. I mean, he's trying to find stuff for 20 cents on the dollar, and I've done it. But to actively just sit there and plan on finding it to get it, that was kind of his mindset. I don't know that he did yet. He was looking to move a pretty good chunk of money, but it can happen. It does happen in New York. Yes, it does, Mal. It does happen in New York. We have students in New York.
Building.
Yeah, if you can imagine a five unit building, I think it was 2 or 3 stories, for $700,000. Student got it, tied it up, rolled it, flipped it, made $350,000. So, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I got a 6,000 square foot building, 2 of them for $40,000 each.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. Yeah, no, people.
But this other one, it's like 50,000 square feet and decent area. So I'm hoping to, get it at like, I don't know, like you're saying, 20, 15 cents on the dollar, and then maybe convert it to apartments. I'm not sure. That area is lacking apartments. Have you ever done anything like that? Take office, convert it to apartments?
No, I have not that. I mean, I've done some conversions for sure. I've converted some warehouses to flex space, which I love, because you'll get a little bit more for a flex space than you will for a warehouse. And I'm looking at doing a conversion of kind of a warehouse to a industrial park. But that keeps getting complicated. But it also has a railroad spur and some other things. Anyways, so hey, we had a pretty good crowd here watching tonight. I hope you people that are watching will jump into my mentorship here in about 40 minutes. And but you got to fill out go to flipanythingusa.com/webinar or just fill that out, put your phone number in there. If it's too late, we'll text it to you. And it's just a wonderful thing. And I got some great new prospects too, by the way. I got an air conditioning guy, and I've got a production framer that I think they're going to sign up. I hope so. I really like these guys a lot. Just super smart, handy guys, great mindset, great talent. They make money, but they're not making it in real estate, and they need to. They have money, but they're just not putting it in the right place. So I'm looking forward to those guys getting in, and also a couple others, just a pretty diverse group. But that's what's so cool. If you get in our community, Russ is a rock star with real estate in general, and has a lot of experiences. And we got guys that are very experienced, carpenters. I'm one of those guys. Liam. We've got other people that are special in finance, and it's just a great little talent pool that everybody can bring something to the table at one time or another. You need to know something that it might be a little bit off topic, but it's like, wow, hey, we got a resource right here. So.
Well, 100%, I agree. Even this whole Phasematic thing, I had no clue that thing existed.
Yeah, that's what I'm
telling you. There might be hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings right there.
It's true. It might be the difference of having that guy move in or not. It's the truth. But like I say,
right.
And like I say, some small co-op electric places, they're beautiful, man. You tell them you got a problem, they're out there that day fixing things, upgrading your service, and then you get more of a bureaucratic city. And it's like it's going to take 6 months minimum. They're going to have you map your home in the place next door to you, even though they don't need the shit. It's just make work for somebody else. And that's what I really look forward to with the Trump administration is getting rid of all this goddamn make work. It's ridiculous. It's just a huge burden they put upon people that for nothing. And, that's unfortunately, that's how government is there isn't building anything. There's no building a profit. And the incentives are to, torture the public and over-police the public because that creates work, It's like, oh, we need to watch them closer. Oh, they need to bring this up to
Tom,
constant bullshit.
I'm experiencing that. Yeah, I'm experiencing that firsthand. So the construction industry slowed down a bit. The inspectors are not that busy.
Yep.
So they're out there visiting my construction site, and they're like, one project, they realized the plans that were approved were not as good. They sent me back to the engineer. We had to beef up some stuff, and only then, after they already approved the plans. It's like, why did you guys approve the plans if it wasn't good enough?
Yeah, no, this is actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. This is something that happens. So I've built homes and buildings, and, I'm a contractor, and this is what happens. It's really terrible because I've been in some huge fights with different cities too over different things, and I don't even hopefully never have to do that again. But this is one of the things that happens when you're pulling permits and you're doing work. Well, I used to be able to take a set of plans in, stand up at the counter, and go over, the plan review with somebody standing just straight across from me, and we're looking at this, looking at the frame, we're looking at the trusses, we're flipping through it, and we're getting through all this stuff quite quickly. This is like going into the city, and by the time 20, 30 minutes of standing there going back and forth, and we're joking and talking about different things and family or whatever, and then it's the red stamp. That's what you want. Approved. You can go build your place now. That's how fast it was. It was just to be that long. It didn't take much at all. I did it with a 16,000 square foot building. I got it done just like that. But what happens is then when things get slow, you go in there, and because when they're busy, it's like, the old saying, you want to get something done fast, give it to a busy person to do. They'll just get it done because they have to. They got other stuff to do. Well, when you go into, a lot of times you go into a city department, and you stand at the counter, and there's all these, it's terrible. And it's worse today than it's ever been. You see just cubicles, and you see these people that are like cows grazing, unfortunately, among the cubes. And then now there's 8 people making the decision that one person used to make. They divide the job up between 4 cows or 5 cows, and and it's just terrible because it just draws. But what I was going to say is, so now you bring your plans in, and even when it was more efficient a long time ago, it's like the guy's nervous. He's afraid that they're going to get cut. It's like, we don't need as many inspectors as we have. We don't need as many plan reviewers as we have because the plans aren't coming in. So what do? They say, oh, you know what? I just need you to leave your plans here because we're just so busy. It's like, what do you mean you're busy? No, everybody's slow. What are you talking? No, we got a lot of stuff going on. And all they want to do is they want to take your set of plans and put it on their desk, and they're going to slow walk it because they need to look busy. And so that's maybe what you're getting into right now is people just trying to keep their jobs by looking busy. And so they'll find more problems with what you're doing. They'll nitpick on things that they never did before. And so they make it harder for you to get done and get up and running and making money. But it's because they're doing it because they don't want to lose their job. So they're just trying to, look busy. It's like...
yeah, but my project I held back over a month, and then the engineer was like, he did other buildings in the area. He's like, they were never as big. But this was a few years before when everything was coming.
Right.
So...
No, yeah, it can happen. Believe me, I know it's a love-hate.
It is what it is. Got it done. I don't want to blow it up too much,
No.
The problem. I'm like, hey, here's the engineer. Get it done. Stamp. Move forward.
No, it's what'll happen is if you got a lot of contempt for bureaucracy, which I do, then you send somebody else to go in for you that won't blow up and get so upset. They're just taking they're getting paid by you to go in there and listen to this bullshit, and you just let them do it. That way it doesn't drive you nuts. So I highly recommend that for those of you that got a short temper. are and hold a lot of contempt for bureaucracy, which I'm one of those guys. So I tend to, like I say, just pay somebody to go in there and let them waste their time. I'll pay the money. I just don't want to have to endure it. So, So those of you again watching, please get into the webinar tonight. I'm not doing. I can tell you, it's the last one for this month. I got a daughter getting married. I got things going on. So this Thursday, could be the difference of you making $1 million. Skip the bar, go to the webinar. It starts in probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you get in there early, I'll start it early, and we can talk about. If you get something you want to talk about, we can talk about that. But you got to go to flipanythingusa.com/webinar to get the link. You see the link below. You see it on the screen right there. There's also, I'll just remind everybody here one more time. You go to right here, click on webinar, and that'll take you right here. And just a couple things: your name, email, and a phone number, and your age, and hit submit. It'll be there. Somebody will turn it around and send you a link, and you'll be in the Zoom talking to me just like this. Turn your camera on, turn your mic on, start chatting, and you're going to see something like you've never seen before. Nobody puts on a webinar like I do, because nobody. I mean, my students are going to be like me, but not the fake gurus in the swamp, the YouTube University swamp, which it is a swamp of bullshit, primarily, unfortunately. But anyways, hey,
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say making $1 million, it's cool, but when you see your life change and the life of the people surrounding you change, that's really cool.
Oh, it's so motivating.
You start doing real estate and yeah.
And Russ is in the class, and so believe me, Russ makes $1 million on a property, and he's done this now, I think at least twice, maybe more. It just gives everybody, it gives even me a kick in the ass. And I tell Russ, I said, yeah, that's moving my greed meter, because I like to take property away from other people too when I can, and so it's nice to feel that greed meter move. Go, and it's like, why am I teaching? I should be busy. I should be out there making the money right now, and but it's actually it's a joy, and it's a great way to in the rest of my life is helping people that are younger and seeing them get richer faster than me. When I was their age, and good people. It's really, really cool. Some ZFL said, send in some guys with bats and brass knuckles into City Hall. Yeah, that won't work.
Yeah,
that won't work. That will not work. I am not an advocate of that. Anyways, but yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Like I say, Russ is in the class, and he knows. It's just a fantastic talent pool. If you're somebody out there, 30, 40 years old, and you're making money, but you're not putting it into real estate, you should be. There's no con job going here. I don't care if you join or not, but you should certainly expose yourself to the opportunities, or you're never going to know. You're never going to know what's out there. And I just leave you with this one last image. Take a look at every one of these blue dots that you see here. And there's probably 100 of them right here. This is all stuff that I bought. Some I've sold, and much of it I still hold today. Every kind of property. There's apartments, there's buildings of all types. There's commercial, industrial, strip centers, large acreage, small acreage. There's houses, and there's everything. Everything you drive by every day is out there, and it's there waiting to be. It has it. There is a point in time. That's all inventory. Look at that. That's all inventory. There's nothing worse than having a business and not having inventory. You're in business, and there's always inventory. So everybody here, I look forward to seeing you in the class tonight, and we'll see you then. You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, flipanythingusa.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face-to-face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years.